Today we're going to be changing the factory navigation head unit in this car. So this is a 2013 Honda Civic with factory navigation. So this is kind of like an unusual car. It's a bit hard to find support, so that's why I'm doing this video. So it's called a touring car in Canada, but it's basically the EXL, so the EX model with leather and then a navigation makes it a touring car in Canada. So we'll have a look inside the car in a minute, but we'll take a look here. So we're using a Maestro system here, and to be honest, this car is kind of borderline the value you get from the Maestro, but we're going to go it this way. And to do it, you need the RR or an RR2. In this car, the RR2 is probably not necessary. It has a Bluetooth configuration. You can reprogram it at any time, whereas the RR, you got to pull it out of the car and program it. And the RR2 also has some assignable outputs, so you can use the touch screen to trigger relays, which is kind of neat. So that's a good value, especially for my one-ton truck or my camper. That'd be the way to go, but for this car, no, not really needed. So I went with Kenwood Exelon 908S. I went with this one because I wanted to have something that had the HD radio, and wanted to be kind of as current as possible and still have a brand name radio. Like at the end of this video, I think I'll try to show my other vehicles and what they've got. One has an Android 4.4 radio in it, and it does okay. And then the other one has a Dodge Uconnect radio, which is also a very good radio. There's stuff you'll need. Like they say all you need is an RRSA1 to do this with their kit, and that is like totally not accurate. So you are going to need to get a body harness, so 70-1729. You'll need a radio harness, which is a 40 HD11. And then I found this on the internet, this camera thing. I'll put a link in for it. I'm not seeing the cardboard box jump out at me. Here it is. So this thing here, it converts 12 volts and puts 6 volts out of the camera. The Maestro can also do that, but it has the pin outs to save you a little bit of soldering for the 7-pin connector. So you can or cannot, you can skip that if you want. And this HA171-8B is a nice DIN adapter. It comes with a tray if you're going single DIN, or it's also double DIN. And it's better than the other brands because it retains the factory bezel in the car. And then otherwise I've got like a two-way switch, single pole, for I'm going to try to use this for changing the views on the factory camera. I got a 60-watt soldering iron. I think you want to go with 60 watts. That'll probably help you out a lot. My other welder was kind of long in the tooth, so I thought I would try this. Then a bin of stuff. So I've got regular tape, amalgamating tape. So if you stretch this, it'll kind of self-heal into a single piece of tape. I've got some rocker switches and stuff here. So I'll see if any of these fit the car well. Bit of solder. I think it should be rosin core, fuses, test wire. And then you'll need a mix of wire and shrink tubing as well. That's sort of the route I'm going to go with this install. And then I've got crimpers, strippers, screwdriver, and multimeter. That's sort of what you're going to need. It takes up quite a bit of space. To look in the car, so the reason we're doing this is the display failed in this car, and I really don't know why. I had plugged in my radio, or sorry, my phone into the port in the back here, and it seemed to have killed the display. I don't know if it was coincidental or what. Let's turn on the car quickly here. Let's see if we need to turn it on all the way. Yeah, got room. So I'm going to try to show how this system ends up working in the end. So right now the car is due for an oil change. Econo mode is always off. I've never used it, the economy thing. So I anticipate we're going to lose the FM radio. I anticipate we're going to lose the time, and then that Bluetooth signal in above the glove compartment. The Bluetooth module lives in there. We got to chop into a wire there. So we're going to lose some of that on that display. On this display, it's like the blank display, we're going to lose the time. Here I anticipate we'll lose everything. Oh, and you can put in a wallpaper setting. I feel like we're going to probably lose that, like the iMID display. I don't know if it shares the USB port. I've never put in wallpaper on there. And then the Bluetooth button or light on the top right, I feel like we're going to lose that as well. And like I can't pair anything. Like the radio works. Like when it'll scan and seek and you can change modes and everything. But the display is dead. And I looked into the value of getting that rebuilt, and I just didn't seem like a good idea. I've never liked this display particularly a lot. Like putting in the destination is really awkward and frustrating because you know you're like right beside where you want to go and it doesn't take it, which some GPS programs have that problem anyway. But anyway, so down here we have a cigarette lighter and an aux. So it's probably we'll yank out the aux, and I'll have the USB cable sticking out here for the Android Auto and the charging. And I'm not going to worry about the USB in the console. And I'm not going to be doing the parking brake switch. I'm just going to leave that wire disconnected for now. And then in a couple weeks, which part of this video I anticipate, or in the next video, I'll be putting in a parking brake bypass. I wanted to try and see the difference with and without that. We're going to keep these controls here, and these controls here are going to keep working. So I just wanted to sort of show people like how you can change the volume and the source. So it's going to keep working, but I just don't see it working on the iMID display. It's going to work on the main double-din radio. So I'm going to spend an hour kind of wiring, and then I'll show you what I end up with wiring. Or I guess we could take a look. It's pouring out there. You saw the temperature in there. I think it was like 34 degrees Celsius or something. It's pretty hot. Yeah, so yeah, for the wiring, I've kind of gone through here. Ideally, you kind of want to plug in your ODB2, like you actually want to solder those in on the back of the connector. Otherwise, you can use a splitter. I don't know if I brought my splitter with me or not. I have an OBE2 splitter that I use with my scan tool and my Android, so that I can, with a Dodge, you can crack the security code for the keys with the one, and then use it to program new keys on the other. So that's kind of handy. So there's a red and a white wire there. You got to chop into the CAN signal on the next one, and they give you information. I didn't show the colors, but I think it shows it down below. And then the blue, so they want you to chop that blue wire off of pin 15 in the glove box. There's going to be a lot of work going on here with the red, black, and yellow to program various things. So there's going to be lots of connections on there. And then switch 1, switch 1, 2, and switch 1 feed we don't use, but we're going to be running the one of them into that pin 15. The VSS, now this I'm kind of confused by. like whether these are inputs or outputs in some cases. So I got to figure out if the VSS, you plug it into the chassis of the vehicle, because it has that, or if you hook it up to the wire on the radio, because it also has that. So that's a bit confusing. So speed sense wire, you got to figure that out. So we'll get to that eventually. And then for this, so you can do 3 different modes with the fisheye camera. You can have like a standard fisheye, you can have a down looking view, or the sort of standard view. So I'm hoping that I can use this switch to control them by grounding signals. I've kind of gone through here and marked some of the pins, and then there's all this stuff that's missing that we gotta wire up. So the camera signal, I'm just using this thing for it, and then it's the mode change will be that switch, which is optional. If you don't use it, you'll just end up with the standard view, whatever that is. The reverse signal, which is pin B9. Give me a sec, I gotta look away for a second. Right, so in this file here on the 2013 Civic Premium Sound, if you look for this on the internet, somebody's put some good information together. This is for premium audio if you got an external amp, and for regular audio for me. So I don't think I'm going to use the PCM video or speed pulse. So that one we're going to bypass. And that's essentially this connector that I got from Maestro. But it's going to be missing some of these things. The next connector, the 20 pin connector B. So I want the mode selects, the bit 0, bit 1. So if you ground one of them at a time, you're supposed to be able to change the video. And then backlight is backup reverse signal. So you need that for triggering the camera. So let's take that. We don't use any of this GA bus. I don't know what that is. So having this stuff disconnected, it's going to like hurt the iMID screen and various things. This is the regular antenna, so the antenna needs power. So we have that hooked up. These are the CAN signals, CAN low, CAN high. And then I've got that 7-pin connector for the camera. We only use some of them here. And if you look at the pack wiring diagram, it is wrong, so don't use it. And Maestro, I don't think they provide anything like this. So you have to kind of go, I think I got this one on Amazon, I'll put a link for it. And then you need to use eBay to get the parking switch device. And the GPS signal, we're not going to use it, so I'm kind of concerned how the clock is going to work or not in the car. And then some people do stuff with CRVs. I haven't really looked into that, but I want an aftermarket radio rather than trying to fit in a CRV radio. So I think, like I said, I'll start getting the wiring kind of figured out, and then we'll get back to it. Made some good progress here on the wiring. So I've got everything outside of the car wired up now. So I capped off any of the cables that we don't need. I did make some pigtails for ground, accessory, and power. I'll use those on the park brake switch relay later. I did cut off the voltage regulator from the little camera harness, and I wired that into the 6 volts coming out of the Maestro. I programmed the Maestro using software. Again, there's lots of videos on how to use that, so I'm not going to show it. Similar to the car disassembly, already some good videos out there. I just want to show what's sort of missing. So I went through the pins on the Metra connector, and there are a couple errors. The illumination doesn't go anywhere in the car. We have a cat who wants to say hello. Hey, Stuart. And so we've got that wire I need to cut off, and we're going to tie that into the illumination on the emergency switch. It's just a dimmer to turn, like to dim the display when you're at night. That's all it does. So that's easy enough. That guy is pretty talkative today. All right, and then the power for the antenna, it doesn't go anywhere. It's not pinned into the car, so that's useless. I made a little table here for the Metra 1729. So the illumination's not pinned to the car, the blue antenna is not pinned to the car, and then the vehicle speed's not pinned into the Metra, and that's okay because we actually do connect the vehicle speed from the Maestro into the radio. This uses the CAN bus to determine vehicle speed to send it there. And I found a few things that the pack adapter was better than the Maestro, but the pack is more expensive and it's meh. We decided to go this route. So the pack has the reverse and the parking brake signals built into it, whereas I need to do those hardwired. So that's kind of a shortcoming from the Maestro. If you had the Honda wiring harness, they do give you one of those signals that make it easier, but because with this particular model you can't use the Honda harness, that's sort of where you're at. So we'll take a look inside the car now. So I've got the dash piece taken out, got the radio taken out, and the other radio kind of ready to go. The OBD2 connector, you can push it out of the back to work on it, and it'd be tricky, but I guess we could solder onto that. I'm unsure if I want to do that. I did have to pull up the parking brake lever, which I really didn't want to do because I'm 4 hours away from home. But in order to pull out this gray part, you do need to lift up the lever. Then you can pull this out. The black part stays behind. You can pick it up and spin it to remove the aux audio connector. I just disconnected it, pulled it out, reconnected it, and threw it in the back. So I'm going to have my USB cable poking out here. If I put an HDMI cable, again, I'll just poke it out here. And then you could lose stuff in that hole. So I might put some tape over it or something to limit the size of the hole. I'm not too sure. Otherwise, you can get like a bulkhead connector and replace the cigarette lighter, but I'd rather keep that for other things because I've got like my inverter here that I use in the car, and it can charge phones as well. So that's pretty handy. There is one undocumented cable in the harnesses, so this is a USB connector that goes into the glove box, and that is for programming the maps in the navigation unit. So we won't be using that. It doesn't do anything. The Bluetooth box is up in here. If you reach in, you can grab a hold of the connector and yank it out. And then with all the harnesses I'm working on, I've stripped back the tape and pulled it back, so you can see I've got the blue wire ready to go. I'm going to butt splice that, and then you just tape off the end of that there. Then I went through and I marked all of the spots where I need it. So this is the, what is this? This is like a 5-pin with 4 wires. That's the emergency button with the illumination wire. So I'll cut off the orange wire from the Metra harness and splice it into that. This is the radio harness. It's got a tab on it, a lever tab. And I think that's the only one I've seen in this car. With the Dodges, they have a lot of that kind of thing. What else have we got? This is the reverse switch here, this brown wire. And then this is the CAN bus wires here. So I've got to make 1, 2, 3, 4 joints in here, and then 1 joint in the dash, and that's good. And then if depending on how I feel doing it with the OBD2 port. Like I said, this car, you don't use a scan tool on it ever. It doesn't give you very useful information, and it just doesn't need it. So I probably will just plug into the OBD2 port for now and go like that. There's just a really limited value in actually soldering that in my mind. And yeah, so that's sort of what I've got going on here. And we'll take a second to look at the website for the vehicle functionality. So yeah, so here's the pack audio. One thing I found is that to set the clock, you need to plug in the battery at 1 o'clock, and that the clock defaults to 1 o'clock. So the clock will continue to work. It's just not settable. So if you're doing this as a business, you either have to teach the customer how to set the clock by disconnecting the battery, or expect callbacks when every time they get their battery changed, or if you didn't do the work at 1 o'clock, you'll have to have them come back in and set the clock for them. The date is held in the memory of the iMID display. So when you kill the power the first time, it's going to lose the date and you'll never see that again. And yeah, so the pack audio has the reverse output and the parking brake output, but we're not using it. I'm just using it for additional information because it's sort of mixed up between different locations. Like I've been using the radio instructions, the HON 2. So this, we're not using this wiring harness, but it does have the reverse light, but not the parking brake in it. So you'd still need to brake into it. It does have the illumination, but because we're not using the HON 2 harness, we have to do it the hard way. And what else is there? Yeah, so I marked the colors on here for white and red, pink and blue, the blue. It's nice that Honda offsets the pins. It makes it easier to tell which end is which. And then the radio VSS goes to the radio. Found a couple other things here. So according to the Maestro website, you can change the camera angles by using this button when you're in reverse, or tapping on this side of the screen when you're in reverse will change the angles. So we'll verify whether that's right or not for this model. And if not, I'm going to put in the switch on the bit 0 and bit 1 to make that work. So I'd have to do a bit more soldering inside of the car for that purpose. And then lastly, so for data features, so for the 2013 Honda Civic, if you look down here, it kind of tells you what it gives. So for navigation output, all it does is vehicle speed, which is kind of annoying. And then it gives you some gauges and you can read codes. And then if you had the RR2, you could have some additional outputs. And then there's like one more radar detector that you could use, which is not legal here, so it just causes you more trouble than it's worth. Then for my Dodge truck, where it's got like the HVAC is built into the screen. It's a 2018 Ram 3500. You can get a Kenwood connector to make it a bit easier to plug things in. You don't need to do any soldering if you want. And so navigation outputs. So it does the parking brake, reverse, illumination. So it's got the things that are missing in this Honda kit. And does some more functions here. That's sort of the important things, I think. And it's got the climate control. So it's not, we're not going to get any of that from the Honda. And then the truck also has the tire pressure and battery voltage and stuff. Like I kind of expected to get battery voltage. It's kind of annoying that we don't get that. So that's what I wanted to show for the wiring. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to protect the car and do some soldering on the inside. and I guess we'll start putting this together. It's 11:45, so if I do this right at 1 o'clock, I can set my clock. If not, I'll have to do it at another time. But things are going pretty good. Can't complain. So here's the head unit mounted in the face of the dash. It's going to go back in. There was no place to use that part. With the 908, it's a shorty, so there's only 2 screws on each side. I put the screw in like the back most of the double screws and was able to push it forward and get a pretty good fit. Decided to mount the GPS receiver on top of the radio. There's no metal above it in the Honda. They do give you a metal patch that you can put on your dash and then put that on your dash, but decided to try to hide that. The microphone, I'm hesitant to pull the whole car apart to get the microphone in, so I ended up just dropping it down here. And I'm going to try to mount it in the instrument cluster. We don't use it very often, but when we do, it's for both people speaking in the front, so I wanted to do that. I could have kind of come up here through this gap and put the microphone there, but then it'd be kind of obtrusive, so I didn't want that. The microphone eventually could come up here if you wanted to. The existing microphone is up in that spot there, so that's another thing. We could pull the cable through the car and come up by the rear view mirror, but I don't really want to do that. The everything is kind of wired and ready to go. That's the mic, antenna, data link, camera, then the main connector is there. When I plugged in the main connector into the vehicle, the Maestro started blinking, so that's good. These are the heated seats here. And then the rest of the connectors I kind of tucked into the back, and being that this is a shorty radio, I'm thinking I can kind of stick everything in. This is a indoor temperature sensor. It must draw air through or over, pushes air out of this over a temperature sensor. Yeah, so the USB cable will come out here. I didn't have an HDMI cable to stick out, otherwise I would stick it out of there as well. And if I had an extension for the Maestro USB cable, I would poke it out there as well, because if you want to make any changes, being that this is a non-Bluetooth model, you need to access it. I just left the cable attached. Yeah, so I think I am ready to put everything in and test it, and we'll see if the camera views can change. If not, I'll have to go back in here and add 2 more taps into the car harness, but I'm feeling like it might work, so I'm gonna skip that for now. Okay, so we got the dash put back together, just kind of hanging here. Bit of a wire stuffing exercise if this works. So we'll turn this on for the first time and see if we get anything. Yeah, looking good so far. Hopefully it doesn't come from the factory at maximum volume. Alright, initial setup for a camera. Parking guidelines are on. You can do a setup of those. Maestro setup is done already, so you can pick which gauges you want. I wish you could pick between them. Like, I don't do everything in metric. There's some things that make sense to me. Otherwise, fuel economy, I gotta put in the tank size. Interesting. Must manage your how much fuel you're consuming versus actually taking it from the other display. Okay, I think that module mass reset. No, I don't want to do that. Vehicle features. Nothing. Demo, don't need. Guess we're done. 10:38. The time is 1:38, so it's getting some kind of signal. Okay. So I still have the service due screen on. I saw 1:39 pop up. So the time is currently correct in the car, so I'm just going to leave it alone. I'm not going to worry about that. If the date starts to drift, I will reset things. So see if I turn on the headlights, whether this dims or not. Okay, so when I turn off the lights, it gets brighter, which means like I'm in the garage right now. So the dimming is working. The reverse, or I'm not plugged into the right signal, so I'll figure that one out. I wonder if I can switch cameras. HD radio. .97.7 hits FM. Should come in soon if there's any more information. Okay, so this HD comes on when it's an HD channel. So 97.7 was not, which is unfortunate. You do need to have a secondary cable to plug in your phone if you want to do it that way. So let's see if it wants me to pair to it. I want DMX 908. I want new ones. Pairing. Check your phone to start Android Auto. Done. Shows that it's kind of working. I use Here We Go because I can download maps. I don't have data on my phone. Alright, so we did get one display, so the HD is kind of coming up. Switch to Android Auto. We're going to say continue. I've only done this once before in another vehicle, so this is kind of new to me. So location is accurate enough. Excellent. So that's pretty exciting. See, it's letting me do a map update if I want to. Alright, so I've got what I wanted. That's really ultimately going to have a working radio. HD audio. I don't know how long it takes for it to download all of the icons for everything. Seems like there's a good collection of HD channels here in the Niagara region, so that's kind of neat. Otherwise, I think some radios store the icons inside of the vehicles, because like I was using a RAV4 and it's got HD audio and it had the icon for 97.7 hits FM. So it's kind of annoying that it's not, it doesn't have a database of radio icons in it. But one of the benefits of this is you never need to update your radio. It is what it is. All the updates happen on your phone. So you're not like taking care of like two different things all the time, which would be kind of annoying. You have to take care of your phone, then you got to get your car close to a place for Wi-Fi to update it. So I guess what we need to do now is shut things down and try to get the camera set up correctly, because I've got that wrong for whatever reason. Yeah, so that's all we'll do. Okay, didn't get to the camera yet. So going into Bluetooth and settings, you have to turn on audio if it let you. What I'm running into is that it's not letting me use the phone. So I'm just trying to use these buttons here. So those are sort of working, but not quite. So I got to figure that out yet. And I also found that you go back to home, go back to like HD radio. So steering wheel controls are working. If you go to source, it changes the input type. I think you just kind of want HD radio, or you can switch to Android Auto. So that's pretty neat. And then you got these buttons here, which is like search. Now if I hit the menu, I am into the head unit, or the iMID display. So you can see a little bit less information here now. Alright, so now if I go to menu, I'm interacting with the iMID display without changing the channel. So it kind of knows what's going on. It's like this thing needs an oil change. I'm down to 5%, so that's good. So I haven't lost the important functions of this car. So now that I'm out, if I switch sideways, it's scanning again. So that's really good. The reverse was working, but the video wasn't coming up. That's all working. The cruise control stuff's not part of it. This is a user problem. I don't know how to use it. I never do. So I'll figure that out. The dimmer is working. I don't have a blinker or the side mirror camera on, so I don't have that. Looks like I can put the glove compartment back together, and we'll get this camera working. I'll have to work on the camera later. I don't have the tips for my multimeter, so I can't probe the connectors. But what we did go over just recently was the Bluetooth. I disconnected from the head unit right now. I'm wireless, and when I use these buttons, I'm now getting things. So the top button is to make a call, and you get the option to dial. You can go through the lists here, see who I've been talking to, stuff like that. You could dial stuff in. There's a disconnect button. We're not connected, so it's not really going to do anything. Then the voice brings something up. See, I got to start up the phone for the first time around. And when I did this, it tried to like bring up Bixby or Alexa or Google. So I don't use any of these things, so I'm just not going to set this up. I don't think. Yeah, you could try that for one. I will set it for always, because I never use it. Okay, so now when I'm pressing the button, it brings up Alexa. Are you there?
I'm here. I listen once I hear the wake word.
Go to sleep. I have no idea how to use this, but it works. And then otherwise, other things we can do in here, we can go to the gauges. And when we go into the gauges,
I just wanna have a good night. Hold up.
I had it muted before, so yeah, go to home, go to gauges. You can reorganize these things. You can get your RPM, fuel level, intake air pressure or temperature, and speed. If you go to P1, you can go and do a quarter-mile run. And I think that's really all you get from the gauges. So the quarter mile is kind of interesting. This car brakes way better than it accelerates. So, meh. What else was there? It doesn't have a lot of stuff. I don't have a USB stick plugged in. USB audio is not working right now, or not hooked up right now. Wireless mirroring. Wants me to use Android Auto. Unfortunately, that camera is not coming up. Wish it was. We go back here. We can go to settings. So there's also the audio settings. You can do your balance and fader and stuff like that. And there's that. Okay, you can get a compass. There's 4 different displays on here. I don't know what that's about. So you can put some pictures and stuff in here. Doesn't look like it stores the picture. You have to wait a little bit. It'll end up putting up a picture of the station or a picture of the artist will come in. Anyway, I'm pretty happy with this, other than it's unfortunate I didn't get the camera working, because that was the whole reason we're doing this project. So I'll be back in here again with the parking brake switch. I need to put that in and also get the camera working. Otherwise, I think we've kind of got this worked out. And then if an HDMI cable, which I really don't need. Like, I don't know what the purpose would be for that in my case, but in a bigger vehicle that might make sense that you'd want to have that. So yeah, I guess we'll put this recording on pause until we get some more parts and get this figured out. We had success with the camera. So for whatever reason, the Maestro wasn't putting out 6 volts DC, and I'm not too sure why. Like, I've got it configured correctly with the right firmware. I tried to see if this front camera trigger was somehow related to starting the backup camera. Played around with that, didn't work. And pushing the button here doesn't change the camera angle, camera mode. So I put in a switch. So that is standard view, which is a bit of a fisheye. You can kind of see the license plate on the bottom and the trunk on the top. That is looking down. So you're just nothing grounded on that. One pin grounded when you have it in the other positions. So that is good. What I did was on this connector here, there was a brown, a black, and a green, I believe. No, a blue, a green, and a black. So I cut them off. I'll show you the wiring harness. And then I just ran it down so the center was the ground, and then when you switch back and forth, you're toggling the bit 0 and the bit 1. I think they might actually be backwards compared to what the drawing shows. And lastly, for the camera 7-pin connector, they had the grounds swapped, so the video ground should be beside the 6 volt, and then the ground for the 12 volts should be beside the video signal. So I had changed those on here. So there's a lot of unnecessary splicing in the wiring, unfortunately, but that's where we are here. So I guess the last thing to do is do the parking brake bypass, and I'll do another video on just the functionality of the screen as I get used to it. So I'll just shut her down for now. Okay, so I've had the head unit installed for a few weeks now, if not a month, and one thing I found out right away is that you do want to have a high bypass installed on it so you can put in addresses. So like here, I've got Here We Go, which is my navigation program. You go to search, and then right there it's you can only do voice directions. So you've got to like put your parking brake on and to put in any typing. So we're going to fix that right away, then we'll get into the finishing this review. So this is the bypass kit that we're going to be putting in. It's 3 wires, power, ground, and then the parking brake signal that it's creating. So this one's made by DIY Bypass. I'm sure you could cut this open and see what's inside of it. They're probably using some PCB manufacturing company to hammer these things out quite inexpensively, although they do cost a bit of money to purchase. So that's the deal. And what it's doing is it's making a clicking output to kind of mimic when you pull the parking brake, where it clicks through the stops, and that is what you need to work with this kind of head unit. Other head units you can just ground the park wire, but it's not adequate for the newer ones that are made by like reputable companies. If you get an Android head unit, you wouldn't need this. You'd probably just be able to ground it. So we'll get this installed. I've got the wiring easily accessible, so we'll have this done in a second. Got the bypass in. Forgive the way I wired that up. I'm just getting near the end and want this done. Didn't feel like bringing out my soldering iron, but now, so the parking brake is down, you go to search and you get the keyboard option. So that's exactly what we wanted. So that's fine for me. Like if you're at a parked at a light, or if you got your occupant trying to set the address, that is perfect. So I'm really happy with that. So now I just get the dash put back together. I'll go through the final walkthrough of this head unit. Then, like I said at the beginning of the video, we'll take a look at my van with an Android head unit, and then the Dodge with a Mopar Uconnect head unit in it. So after driving this vehicle for, I don't know, probably 7 hours since installing this radio, what can I say? I think it's pretty good. It's sort of a necessity just because of the vehicle. In order to keep everything working in it, you need it. I did go into the settings and put the small fonts on the display so that I could have more information displayed. Unfortunately, the city that I live in doesn't have any HD radio channels. So going for the higher end Kenwood, maybe not the best choice on my part for that. Otherwise you can get the lower end one. The bypass was necessary to make this work well. There's some neat features in here. Like if you hear a neat song, you can kind of like save it. Like save just the title so you can look it up later, which is pretty cool. This is like regular tuning when you're in Auto 1. When you're in Auto 2, you're only tuning across your presets. And then manual is neat, so it's just like one step at a time, and it's not scanning at all. So that's good if you're in the kind of the edge of the area. You want to be able to pick up a channel or lock to it. Like one of the annoying things that, like you're driving across Canada in the middle of the night, if you've got this thing set to Auto 1 and it's just scanning and scanning, it might scan for an hour before you pick up a radio channel. And it's going to be something ridiculous like CBC radio in French or something, just pounding in. It's going to scare the hell out of you in the middle of the night. So with this, at least you can go through and manually check each spot. If you got an hour between stations, that's the way to go. The Android Auto works nice. If you go to Home, there's a few different ways you can display things, but to go into Android Auto, you go there, or you can go to the phone one down there. Right now it's split screen. You can go through here. I did need to install Music Olay on my phone in order to play music. It recognizes albums well, and it works nicely so that you can kind of go through your library, so you can have folders or albums. So I got some different stuff on here. Whereas when I tried to use VLC, it sucked. It didn't pick up very many albums that I put on here. And like I said, so you can go to play. I've got Attenuate on right now. So basically there's no volume. You can't just like flick it to when you're trying to talk to somebody. So you press Attenuate. The other option is that if you hold this button down, it'll mute it. So you can do that as well. You program that into the interface for that part, but if you don't have the interface, that's what you're going to use. So that's kind of handy. So I've got it set up when you're going reverse, that it's going to attenuate when you do that as well. So that works. And then you'll know if you got bad engine mounts, which is a common problem in this car when you put the thing in reverse. But it's a separate thing. So that's nice. The one of the gimmicks they've got here is the gauges, and they work. The speed works fine, but otherwise this is pretty much garbage. And it doesn't allow you to get into anything other than what they gave you, which is really unfortunate. There should be much more available. So you can go into contacts, you can look and do different stuff, but you do need to go into your phone and turn on the Android Auto settings. You have to go into like the app settings and find Android Auto, and then turn on the accessibility to these phone numbers. So that works nice. And going back here, you can go to a single mode here somehow. I don't recall how to do it, but you can like focus on one app when you want to. So that is good. So all in all, I'm happy with it. I'd rather not have to go through this process, especially in this particular vehicle. You're only getting these buttons to work, and that's a lot of expense for a few buttons. That's kind of annoying. But yeah, so the radio time is working here. If you look here, see if we can find it. August 12th. So this date hasn't changed since I pulled the radio. And when I disconnect the battery, you're going to lose that date altogether. And then, like I said previously, you got to disconnect and reconnect it exactly at 1 p.m. so that it sets the time correctly. Like I've drifted by, it was about a half of a minute so far in a month. So there is that. There's you do need to find Android Auto capable apps. If you've got any that you want to use, not everything works that way. And I'm not using any of the extra cameras, like some of the newer Hondas have the lane watch on the side, but I haven't got that. So I think we're pretty much done in here. So we'll move on to the van and we'll take a look at the Android Auto, or sorry, the Android head unit. So here we are in my van. So this is a 2004 Chevy Express, and this is a Android 4.4.4 head unit, and it's never going to be anything different than that. So with the Kenwood, it's running some kind of operating system with Android Auto, so you'll have access to whatever your phone is capable of. So that phone's Android 15. It's got all my information in it. I don't need to update the head unit in the Honda. Whereas in this thing, it's its own little Android device, right? So you've got to go into it and put on your apps that you want to have. You've got to put your Google account into it. It'll be here somewhere, add accounts. And one thing that's funny about this is that the passwords aren't provided to you to change any settings, so you got to figure them out. In a lot of cases, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7, 8, 9, 0, and there's some other options available out there, but that is an annoyance. It has a couple of video inputs in it. Right now, the reverse signal is not working in this head unit, so that's one thing I need to do, is replace it as a result, because it doesn't work. So I put my reverse camera on the video. That's not the right one. So there's the Honda here behind the van. So it's got the same double DIN form factor. This one does have the mic built into it. It does do phone Bluetooth, which is good. And you can do steering wheel controls on it. But this vehicle, I'd have to change the steering wheel to make that work. You could put torque on here if you wanted to have gauges like the Kenwood has behind us. But the problem is that going into the Play Store, this thing is only Android 4.4, so the app coverage is going to be pretty terrible. This does have the old iPod, the big Apple connector on it, but because the reverse is not working and doesn't do Android Auto, next year I'll probably be replacing this with something newer, and then I can decide whether I want to go with a bigger form factor than double DIN. As long as I can get access to the climate controls, I'm okay. This doesn't really have any purpose, and that is kind of what you can get for this. You can change the color of the buttons, same as you can with the Kenwood. This one has a regular knob on it, which is kind of nice. With the Kenwood not having a knob, it's sort of not as nice as a result, but there's more than one way to make something. This has some ancient navigation program in it. I'm not even going to open it because the built-in Navi is never really good. It's not going to help you out. It's got a music player built into it, similar to what the Kenwood would have. It doesn't have Music.ly on it. I couldn't get it to work. So if I want to listen to music over Bluetooth, you're kind of trapped in the directory that you're in. Whatever music directory on your phone, You can go back and forth between those songs or what's on the playlist, but otherwise you can't navigate around, whereas musical A would be better. Unless I plug this into my phone and it lets me navigate through USB. I haven't tried to do that with that particular phone, but this thing is so ancient you're not going to buy one of these, so I'm not going to go through the actual proving of how everything works and what have you. But just to give you an idea, the problem being that you're going to end up stuck with an old Android version that's not updatable, and you got to put in all your information, and it's its own device you got to take care of and update and do things to it when you can. And if your vehicle ever gets stolen or something, someone's going to have like one of your phones, basically. It's going to have full access to your email and everything. So anyone that borrows your vehicle is going to have full access to your information. So probably not a good thing. So now we'll go on to the truck. This is a 2015 Ram 3500 with a Uconnect. It's an 8.4 inch screen, and if you look at it, it has climate as part of the controls. So this is where the Maestro is actually meant to be. The problem is the Kenwood is not nearly as big as this. You'd end up with like a big downgrade putting the Kenwood in. So you'd end up needing to get like an Alpine Halo or something, like a multi-$1,000 replacement unit for this truck in order to get the same size or bigger display. So you'd end up being like double what you spent on the Honda, which is not a good deal. But you can see that you've got controls for your mirror heating, and then you can turn on the fan and stuff like that. Some of it is mimicked here, but not all of it. You can't pick the feet as options, or you really only get windshield as an option. So that's kind of where a lot of vehicles are going now. And if you get the Maestro Bluetooth or the Wi-Fi, whatever the RR2 version is, it comes with basically more buttons. So in this truck you could order it with like 6 accessory buttons across the bottom, which this truck didn't come with. So you could have the accessory buttons built into your radio using the Maestro and the RR2, and that would be kind of neat, because then you don't have like extra stuff attached to the vehicle. Like to turn my UHF and VHF radios on and off, I could use these things in here rather than putting additional switches in the vehicle. So that would be something that you might want to look at, but just as an example of where the Maestro would work good, whereas in the Honda you're just getting a couple buttons. Like the truck's got the buttons just like the Honda does, right? But you're getting more. You get this whole climate control section. Then this truck's got the built-in navigation from 2015 as well, which is kind of useless. It has Sirius in it. You can get Sirius for the other radios if you want that. This will play media off of a stick, or it might be playing it off my phone. I don't even know where it's coming from. Probably my phone, because it's just in the van next door. But anyway, just wanted to show you this as an option. I think that this has a nicer layout and display than the Kenwood has, but it's also bigger, so they had some more real estate to work with. So anyway, hopefully you found the overall videos interesting, and thanks for watching.